Young men are often idealistic, eager to learn, they are ever searching for truth, and they are desperately trying to make sense of the world in which they live in today. They are trying to make sense of the world. Apart from being idealistic, apart from being eager in what they are doing, apart from being eager to learn, searching for meaning, searching for understanding, they are desperately trying to make sense of the world in which they live. And because of that, they grasp anxiously to an ideology that they find nearly impossible to defend. And which ideology is this, which is nearly impossible in their world today to defend? This ideology is founded in faith. Faith is becoming for them very difficult, nearly impossible to defend. How can they defend hope and sacrifice? How can they talk about sacrifice and hope? How can they defend this faith, which gives hope and sacrifice? And what they see around themselves is despair, is losing of hope, going through many challenges. So they are trying to make sense of what's going on in their lives, and they find it very difficult to reconcile their idealistic mind, their eagerness to learn, their searching for truth, and trying to make sense of everything. They find it very hard to reconcile faith, which propels hope and sacrifice in their world today. Many of us, we may have heard in one way or another, or we may have encountered, or we may have come across young men. We may have come across some young men or men who have been easily been led away from the Catholic faith. Why? Because when they are in that state of not being able to reconcile their faith and what's going on in the world today, they are easily led away from the Catholic faith, which proposes hope and sacrifice. You may have heard this kind of statement, for example, I was raised Catholic, but I no longer go to church. I was raised Catholic, I went to Catholic schools, but I no longer practice the Catholic faith. Or there are those who also say, I have no need to attend church. I don't see any need to attend church. Since I went to Catholic school for 12 years, I guess I'm still Catholic. Or somebody will say, oh, I went to the Catholic school, but nobody ever told me what you are telling me. When they come to their senses, when they are reasoning with you and you talk to them, spiritual sense, they will say, I was in the Catholic school for 12 years or for a number of years, but no one has ever told me what you are telling me today. Why is all that happening? It's because of the world today. There are no many people who are helping these young men to find and to make sense of what is happening in the world today. We find this very hard in the Western world. There are some who say, I guess even with all my mistakes, even with all my shortfalls, even with all my problems, my challenges, I guess I'm still a good person. Despite my mistakes, I'm a good person since I was raised Catholic, since I went to Catholic school, since I attended Mass when I was in school, since I used to I was baptized, I was formed, I guess I'm still a good person. While some some young men have openly said that without judging, they have said that they are not judging the church. They are not passing any judgment. But without judging, they say the church is intolerant. To some young men, the church is intolerant. The church is exclusive and hypocritical. The church is intolerant, is exclusive, is hypocritical, and irrelevant to them. As at now, as where they are, in the world they are living today, they find the church intolerant to whatever they believe in, intolerant to their ways of life. They find the church very exclusive. They don't include everybody. That's according to what they experience. They find the church very hypocritical when they see how things are happening in the world and how the church responds to issues in the world. They find the church very hypocritical. When they analyze the church from different facets of life, they see the church as hypocritical and irrelevant to them. This usually follows a statement such as, I was raised Catholic, but I find the church intolerant, exclusive, hypocritical, and irrelevant. On the other hand, we see and sometimes hear parents to such young men, parents to such children, laying blame on the catechists for not forming their children well. They were not formed well. Religious education today is not forming our young people well. While the religious educators or catechists are blaming the parents of not raising their children well. On the other hand, the director of religious education, they are blaming the church authorities. They lay blame maybe on the bishops. On the other side, the bishops blame the priests. And then what happens? Everyone else blames the youth. We blame them for everything. So there's blame going round. Each is getting a portion of the blame of what's going on with our young people in the society today. Catechists are being blamed, priests are being blamed, parents are being blamed, bishops are being blamed, and everybody else is blaming the youth. Indeed, there is less or there's no much effort being put in finding answers to why these young men, to why these young people are feeling what they are feeling. There's less effort, or in some other areas, there's no effort at all being put to find answers to why these young people are feeling what they are feeling. And effort is being put on blaming everybody else. It is true that young men will experience deep religious conversion and turn to defend all that is good when the Catholic men themselves, when the Catholic men return to their ancient practice of teaching the young men the faith. Teaching the young men, their sons, their faith. These young men will have or experience tremendous conversion when men themselves take the responsibility of teaching their sons, teaching the young men their faith. The situation in the world of the young men feeling that the church is intolerant, is exclusive, is hypocritical and irrelevant to them, since they have been raised in the church, they have gone to Catholic schools. But why they feel like this is because they have not been taught in a very best way by the parents, the fathers, the men teaching the young men their faith by being faithful themselves. This situation will change when the fathers of the family take the responsibility of teaching their faith to the young men. You are the father in that family. Where are you leading your family? Teach your young men, your sons, the faith. We know from statistics in the United States, most young men or young people are taught their faith in religious education majorly by women. Women who are dedicated and committed to their work. They do an excellent job. However, boys learn more of their faith from their fathers, so that they don't leave what they learn in school in the academic level, in the level of the mind. What they are learning in school, what they are learning in the religious education, in the formation program, is usually left in that mind level, in that academic level, when they come home and they find their fathers not living the faith, not teaching the faith, not re-emphasizing on religious and faith tenets of life. When they have nothing to emulate from their fathers with regard to faith, that their parents are not emulated, or they are not models to be emulated. When men take responsibility of teaching young men, teaching their sons their faith, these young men will find a tremendous conversion when they learn it from the fathers, when they learn it from their parents, from the men. We can find this example in St. Joseph and Jesus. It is believed that in their time, in the time of Joseph and Jesus, men taught their sons the faith. Therefore, St. Joseph helped Jesus to grow in stature and in faith, emulating his father, the faithfulness, his work ethic. That's why Jesus grew up in stature and faith. And we expect that Joseph, at his time, when men were teaching their sons faith, he did the same. He did teach Jesus his faith and his way of life. He taught Jesus the tenets of his own faith and introduced him to the ancient faith and sacred scripture. Indeed, fathers in our society today determine the church habits of grown children. If the father does not go to church, no matter how much and how faithful his wife is in attendance of the church, it is said only one child in 50, or around 2%, will maintain or remain faithful to the church, when it's only the mother who is attending the church and keeping the faith and being faithful. When the man is not going, when the father is not attending the church, only around 2% from the family hold or from the household of the family will remain faithful. But it said, on the other hand, when the father, or if a father, goes to church regularly and the mother does not, it is said that 44% of their children will become churchgoers. 44%, compare 2% and 44%. When the father goes to church, 44% will remain faithful. When the mother does not, but the father is faithful, 44%. But when the mother is so faithful and the father doesn't, only 2%. Think about that. Few things. One, Fathers and other Catholic men must do the work to discover their faith on a personal level. That means, number one, few things to do. Fathers and other Catholic men, they must do the work to discover their faith on a personal level and make an intentional and interior assent to the truth of faith that they discover. That means the fathers and other men in the church must be intentional in rediscovering their faith and assenting to that truth and practicing that truth of faith. 2. These fathers and men must boldly and charitably defend and teach that faith to their children. So they have to rediscover and discover the truths of their faith, live it and practice it. Then number 2, they must boldly, not timidly, but boldly, charitably defend and teach that faith to their sons. Those are the major 2 things the fathers and men must do. Rediscover the faith, rediscover that faith on a personal level, and make interior and intentional assent to accept from within that truth of faith, practice it, and then number 2, teach it boldly, charitably, defending it. They defend it, they teach it charitably to their children. That very faith, they have to teach it. They have to teach, not cheat, to teach it to their sons. But then we have to be careful with our young men who have been brainwashed by culture. There are those who have been brainwashed by culture in schools, culture in colleges, culture in other societies. They have been brainwashed. We have to be careful and know that the best way to evangelize these young men is by knowing our own faith, not imposing our faith on them, but by knowing our own faith, and let them see how that faith has made us to be happy, to be confident in the promises and in our trust and love for Christ. The best way to evangelize these who have been brainwashed is not by imposing our faith on them, but by knowing our faith, living our faith, and letting them see how happy we are in our faith, how confident we are in the promises we make, and our hope in Jesus Christ. Let them see it, not imposing on them, not singing to them, not pressurizing them. Let them see. Indeed, the future of the church rests in men. Catholic men must rediscover their responsibility and the reality of truth, of faith in their lives, and embrace the grace God has offered them as teachers of their household, as teachers of faith of their household. In the world today, there's what we call triumphalism, or others would pronounce it triumphalism, from triumph, triumphalism. There's that attitude of feeling triumphant when one declares his or our own independence from the church, especially from the Catholic Church. There's that attitude of feeling triumphant, that I'm independent from the church. I did it. I no longer prescribe to that church. I am independent from the Catholic Church. There's that triumph attitude, that feeling of triumph, of being independent from the church. This attitude is accompanied by distrust of the church and what she teaches, and the position of the church in various relevant issues in the world today. They view the stand and the position of the church as irrelevant to them. You hear many people say, I used to be a Catholic. I thank God I'm no longer a Catholic. That feeling of triumph, that attitude of becoming a victor, you no longer belong to that church. There's that attitude in the world today. Many have walked away and they feel freed, or they feel they are free from the church, and they feel very proud of not being associated with the Catholic Church. Why is that feeling? It's because they have developed a distrust with the church and what the church teaches. And they see the position of the church, or the stand on the church on various issues in the world and society today as irrelevant and contradictory to the faith. But we have to agree, as believers, as people of faith, we must understand that we are not equipping young men. We are not equipping our young men when we are not teaching them the rich and life-sustaining truths of Jesus. We are not equipping them. There are those who have decided, I will not teach my children any faith. Let them discover and decide for themselves. We are not equipping them. We are not teaching them the riches and life-changing truths of Jesus Christ and His church. It's our responsibility as people who believe, as people of faith, to pass this knowledge, to pass this faith to the younger people. Let us not allow our young people to be disappointed in their faith by not teaching them the faith. And this one was particularly for the men and fathers. You have a responsibility to teach that faith to the younger men in our society. May God bless you and embrace you.